Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's story begins in a quiet part of the city. Inside a restaurant known for its elegance, soft lighting, and unspoken rules about who belonged there and who didn't. It was the kind of place where people spoke in low voices, wore expensive clothes, and measured others with quick glances. On that evening, most tables were already filled. Laughter and the sound of cutlery floating gently through the air. She stood near the entrance, holding a small worn-out handbag close to her chest. Her clothes were clean but simple, clearly not chosen for a place like this. She had hesitated before coming in, checking the menu displayed outside, counting the money in her pocket twice. It had taken her weeks to finally gather the courage to step inside. Tonight mattered more than anyone in that room could imagine. The hostess looked at her briefly, then away. Her smile faded just a little. She asked if she had a reservation. The woman shook her head softly and explained she only needed a small table, just for a little while. The hostess sighed, glanced around the room, and said all the tables were taken. It wasn't entirely true. There were empty chairs everywhere, but suddenly, none seemed available for her. The woman nodded, embarrassed, and stepped aside. She didn't argue. She had learned long ago that arguing only made things worse. She stood near the wall, waiting, hoping someone might leave soon. Minutes passed. People entered after her, well-dressed couples and confident individuals. They were seated immediately. Each time, her heart sank a little more. She tried to smile, pretending it didn't hurt, but her eyes betrayed her. Tonight was supposed to be special. It was the anniversary of a promise she had made to herself years ago, a promise to survive, to keep going no matter how invisible she felt. Finally, she gathered the courage to ask again. A waiter looked at her, then at her shoes, then back at her face. He told her politely but firmly that she should try somewhere else. His words were calm, but the message was clear. She didn't belong. People nearby noticed. Some whispered. Others avoided eye contact. No one spoke up. No one offered a chair. That's when he noticed her. He had been sitting alone at a corner table, finishing a meeting on his phone. He was well-dressed, calm, and carried himself with quiet confidence. Unlike others, he wasn't interested in being seen. When he looked up, his eyes met hers for just a second. That second was enough. He saw the way she stood, trying to make herself smaller. He saw the humiliation she was forcing herself to swallow. And he saw something else too, strength. Hidden behind tired eyes, he ended his call, stood up, and walked toward her. The room grew strangely quiet as people watched him move past their tables. The hostess stepped forward, confused, asking if everything was okay. He didn't respond. Instead, he reached his table, picked up his chair, and carried it across the room. Then, without a word, he placed it right beside the woman and gently pulled it back for her. For a moment, she didn't understand what was happening. She looked at the chair, then at him, unsure. Her hands trembled slightly. People around them froze. The waiter opened his mouth to protest, but no sound came out. He looked at her and smiled, not a smile of pity, but of respect. He told her the seat was hers if she wanted it. His voice was calm, steady, as if this was the most natural thing in the world. Tears welled up in her eyes. She hesitated, then slowly sat down. It felt unreal, like a dream she didn't want to wake from. He sat on the opposite side of the table, signaling the waiter to bring another menu. The staff rushed, now, suddenly polite, suddenly attentive. The same people who had ignored her minutes ago now pretended nothing unusual had happened. As the waiter placed the menu in front of her, her hands shook again. She apologized softly, saying she didn't want to cause trouble. He shook his head and told her she wasn't causing trouble. The trouble was pretending some people deserved less dignity than others. They sat quietly for a moment. Then he asked her name. She told him, her voice barely above a whisper. He introduced himself simply, without titles or achievements. No one else in the restaurant knew who he really was yet. As they talked, her story slowly unfolded. She told him she worked 2 jobs, cleaned offices at night, and took care of her younger brother during the day. Their parents were gone, and life had forced her to grow up too fast. This restaurant had been her mother's favorite place, though her mother had only come here once, years ago, just to sit and drink tea. Tonight, she had wanted to sit here too, even if only for a short while, not to eat something expensive, not to impress anyone, just to feel close to a memory she missed deeply. He listened without interrupting. Every word she spoke settled heavily in his chest. Around them, people pretended not to listen, but every ear was tuned to their table. When the waiter returned, he placed the food down carefully. This time, there was no hesitation, no judgment. The woman looked at the plate in front of her as if it didn't belong to her. She thanked the waiter quietly. She took a small bite, and tears rolled down her cheeks. She tried to wipe them away, embarrassed, but he told her it was okay. Some moments were too heavy for silence. Then, the restaurant manager approached their table, forced smile in place. He apologized awkwardly and offered them a better table near the window. The man looked up at him and declined. He said this table was perfect. Only then did the manager recognize him. His face drained of color. Whispers spread rapidly across the room. People began to realize who was sitting among them. The man was the owner of the restaurant chain. Suddenly, everything made sense. The manager stammered, promising to make things right. The hostess stood frozen, fear written across her face. The owner didn't raise his voice. He didn't scold anyone publicly. He simply said one sentence that silenced the room. He said, "A restaurant that decides who deserves a chair has already failed its purpose." He told the staff to continue their work and walked back to his seat. The message had been delivered. After the meal, he stood up and paid the bill. Despite her protests, he told her it wasn't charity. It was gratitude for reminding him why he had built this place in the first place. Before leaving, she thanked him again, her voice steadier now. She said she would never forget what he did. He smiled and said he hoped she would forget it someday, because kindness should feel normal, not unforgettable. As she walked out, her posture had changed. She stood taller. Her steps were lighter. People watched her leave, some ashamed, some thoughtful. Diona stayed behind for a moment, looking around the room. Then he made a quiet decision that would change the way that restaurant operated forever. This story isn't just about a chair in a restaurant. It's about dignity. It's about seeing people when it's easier to look away. Sometimes, the smallest act can remind someone that they matter. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps keep stories like this alive. See you in the next video.